Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you to share a journey that has profoundly changed the course of my life. It is a story not of sudden miracles, but of quiet reflection, of seeking truth, and of discovering a faith that brought clarity, purpose, and peace to my heart. There were moments of doubt, of questions that seemed too heavy to bear, yet through perseverance and an open heart, I found a path that illuminated my life in ways I could never have imagined. This journey of conversion was not just about embracing a religion, but about embracing a new way of seeing the world, a new way of understanding love, hope, and resilience. As I recount my experience, my hope is that it will inspire you to reflect on your own journey, to find courage in moments of uncertainty, and to recognize that transformation is possible for each of us if we are willing to seek it. From the earliest days of my life, I have been on a journey, though I did not fully recognize it at the time. Life had a way of presenting questions, challenges, and moments that demanded reflection. I grew up observing the world through a lens shaped by curiosity and by the silent, often unspoken search for meaning. There were times when the answers seemed distant, elusive, and even contradictory, leaving me restless and unsettled. I pursued knowledge, understanding, and success in ways that seemed tangible, yet there remained a quiet void, a sense of incompleteness that no achievement could fill. In the midst of this search, I encountered moments that stirred something deeper within me, moments when my heart seemed to recognize a truth it had longed for, even if my mind struggled to articulate it. It was a journey that demanded patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about myself, my choices, and the nature of the life I was living. As I traveled further along this path, I began to notice the patterns of life that often go unseen. The hardships, the losses, and even the seemingly ordinary moments carried a profound weight, teaching lessons that could not be learned through study or intellect alone. There were evenings spent in quiet contemplation, mornings when the stillness of the world seemed to echo the questions within me, and days when the laughter and love of those around me pointed toward a dimension of life I had only glimpsed. It became increasingly clear that faith was not merely a set of doctrines or rituals to be followed. It was a living experience, a dynamic relationship with something far greater than myself. It demanded openness, humility, and the courage to surrender aspects of my ego that clung to control, certainty, and personal pride. The journey of the heart is rarely linear. There were moments of doubt, where the path seemed obscured by shadows of fear, skepticism, and past disappointments. Yet even in those moments I discovered that the heart possesses a quiet wisdom, a resilience that is often underestimated. The whispers of that wisdom nudged me toward reflection, and eventually toward a greater understanding of faith as a force that transforms not through coercion or obligation, but through love, guidance, and the subtle, persistent call to live with integrity, compassion, and purpose. As I opened myself to this realization, I found that my understanding of life began to shift. Relationships, work, and even my daily routines took on new meaning. I began to see that faith is less about the grandeur of spectacular events, and more about the willingness to align one's life with principles that elevate the spirit and nurture the soul. In my own journey, I was fortunate to encounter examples of living faith in individuals whose lives embodied kindness, forgiveness, and courage. Observing them, I saw the reflection of a possibility I had longed for within myself. It became clear that faith was not an escape from reality, but a lens through which reality could be understood with clarity, patience, and hope. It was in these moments that I realized my path toward Christianity was not merely a change of belief, but a transformation of the inner self. It required letting go of rigid assumptions, confronting biases I had unknowingly carried, and embracing humility as a guiding principle. In doing so, I found a freedom I had never known, a freedom that comes from trusting in a higher purpose, a higher power, and in the transformative potential of love and grace. The process of conversion was gradual, marked by reflection, prayer, and study, yet it was also profoundly experiential. Each chapter of my life offered opportunities to witness the presence of faith in action. I observed how acts of compassion could alter lives, how forgiveness could heal wounds that seemed irreparable, and how perseverance rooted in faith could turn despair into hope. It was not a path devoid of challenges, for doubt and fear often accompanied moments of clarity and peace. Yet, over time, I realized that these challenges were not obstacles, but integral parts of the journey. They were teachers, guiding me to deeper understanding and a more resilient faith. As I embraced Christianity, I discovered that faith is as much about the heart as it is about the mind. It calls for sincerity, reflection, and a willingness to let go of preconceived notions. Yet it also nurtures joy, gratitude, and a profound sense of purpose. Life began to feel richer, not because circumstances changed dramatically, but because I began to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, to recognize the divine in everyday experiences, and to approach each moment with an awareness that transcends the superficial demands of routine or ambition. The journey of the heart had led me to a place where peace was not dependent on the absence of difficulty, but on the presence of faith, hope, and love in the midst of it. Through this path, I also understood the importance of sharing the lessons of faith without imposing them. Transformation is most profound when it inspires others by example rather than argument. Living with integrity, embodying compassion, and showing resilience in the face of adversity became the truest testament to the journey I had undertaken. It reinforced the belief that the journey of faith is deeply personal, yet inherently communal, connecting us to others who are also seeking, questioning, and striving for meaning in their lives. Each encounter, each shared experience, became a reminder that the heart's journey is ongoing, evolving, and enriched by the willingness to listen, to learn, and to grow. In reflecting on my path, I recognized that conversion was never a single event, but a continuous unfolding of understanding, acceptance, and spiritual awakening. It has reshaped the way I engage with the world, deepened my empathy, and strengthened my resilience. The journey of the heart remains ongoing, inviting me to face life's challenges with courage, to embrace opportunities for growth, and to nurture a faith that is alive, dynamic, and transformative. It is a path that requires patience, commitment, and an openness to the mysteries that life presents, yet it rewards with a clarity of purpose, a depth of connection, and a peace that transcends circumstance. Life has a way of testing the deepest corners of our hearts, of confronting us with questions that seem impossible to answer and challenges that shake the very foundation of our beliefs. In my own journey, doubt was not a fleeting visitor, but a persistent companion, quietly demanding that I examine not only the world around me, but the world within me. There were days when the certainty I once took for granted seemed to crumble, leaving me searching for a light in the shadows. It was during these times that I began to realize the true nature of faith. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to continue seeking despite it. Each question, each hesitation, became an invitation to explore more deeply, to confront the limitations of my understanding, and to recognize that discovery often emerges from uncertainty. The moments of doubt were not dramatic or sudden, but subtle and persistent. A casual conversation, a moment of reflection in solitude, or an encounter with suffering would trigger questions that lingered long after the moment had passed. Why do hardships exist? How can one find meaning in pain? What is the purpose of life if it is fleeting and uncertain? These questions, which might seem ordinary, became gateways to a journey I had not anticipated. In searching for answers, I explored philosophies, traditions, and moral systems, yet the clarity I sought remained elusive. It was in recognizing this incompleteness that I began to understand the necessity of looking beyond human understanding, beyond intellect alone, and opening the heart to a greater reality. Discovery, in my experience, arrived not in a single revelation, but in a series of realizations that built upon one another. I began to notice the quiet ways in which faith manifests itself in the lives of others, the steadfastness in adversity, the generosity that comes without expectation, and the profound peace that accompanies trust in something larger than oneself. Observing these qualities, I felt a stirring within, a recognition that perhaps there was a path I had not yet fully explored. It was a delicate tension between skepticism and hope, a dance of intellect and intuition, that gradually guided me toward Christianity. I learned that discovery does not demand the abandonment of reason, but rather its alignment with a search for truth that transcends what can be measured or explained. In this period of doubt and discovery, I encountered texts, stories, and teachings that resonated deeply, not merely as ideas, but as experiences waiting to be lived. Reading about the life of Christ, the principles he embodied, and the compassion he extended, I began to see a mirror for my own aspirations and failings. It was not about perfection, but about the pursuit of a life guided by love, forgiveness, and purpose. Every passage, every reflection became a stepping stone, illuminating corners of my heart I had neglected, revealing a capacity for change, for humility, and for connection that I had not fully recognized. The more I explored, the more I realized that faith is an active journey, requiring engagement, courage, and a willingness to be transformed from within. Doubt, rather than a barrier, became a guide. It forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about myself, my pride, my limitations, and my assumptions about life and spirituality. In these moments, I discovered that questioning is not opposition to faith, but an essential element of growth. To truly embrace Christianity, I had to understand why it mattered to me, why it resonated beyond tradition, habit, or expectation. The process demanded honesty, introspection, and a readiness to let go of certainty in favor of exploration. It was a journey marked by patience, for faith does not announce itself in a single moment, but whispers consistently to those who listen carefully, patiently, and with an open heart. Personal experiences played a crucial role in this journey. Moments of suffering, moments of joy, and even moments of simple reflection revealed a pattern, a presence that felt guiding, comforting, and purposeful. Prayer, contemplation, and engagement with the teachings of Christianity became practices that allowed me to move from uncertainty toward clarity. I found that discovery is not merely about intellectual comprehension, but about experiencing truth in a way that transforms daily life. The sense of connection, the assurance that one is part of something larger than oneself, and the understanding that life's challenges are not meaningless began to take root. I realized that faith is lived, not merely believed, and that its power lies in its ability to shape character, action, and perspective. The tension between doubt and discovery is not easily resolved, and it would be dishonest to suggest that the journey was simple or without struggle. There were nights when uncertainty felt overwhelming, when questions circled endlessly, refusing to settle, and when the temptation to abandon the search seemed strong. Yet it was precisely in those moments that the potential for transformation was greatest. I learned that discovery often requires endurance, a willingness to remain open when the answers are not immediately evident, and trust that the process itself carries wisdom. Every experience, every encounter, and every reflection added layers of understanding, gradually revealing a faith that was authentic, deeply personal, and profoundly transformative. As I continued along this path, I began to see Christianity not only as a set of beliefs, but as a framework for living with integrity, compassion, and resilience. It offered guidance for navigating doubt, clarity in moments of confusion, and a vision for life grounded in purpose and love. My discoveries were both intellectual and emotional. They reshaped my understanding of morality, relationships, and my own potential. The moments of doubt, which once felt threatening, became milestones, markers of progress on a journey that required courage, honesty, and the humility to recognize that no journey toward truth is complete without questioning. Ultimately, finding Christianity was not about erasing doubt, but about learning to walk with it, to let it guide the search, and to allow discovery to emerge from the tension it creates. The path transformed my perception of challenges, my response to suffering, and my ability to empathize with others. It taught me that faith and doubt are companions, each essential to the journey, each revealing dimensions of the heart and mind that might otherwise remain unexplored. Through this process, I discovered a depth of meaning that had been absent in my earlier pursuits, a sense that life is not a series of random events, but a narrative infused with purpose, guided by principles that foster love, justice, and hope. In reflecting on this journey, I recognized that moments of doubt and discovery are not anomalies or failures, but integral to the human experience. They test our resolve, expand our understanding, and prepare us for the kind of faith that is resilient, compassionate, and deeply personal. Christianity became a lens through which I could interpret the world with renewed clarity, courage, and empathy. It allowed me to embrace uncertainty not as a threat, but as an invitation to growth, to transformation, and to a more profound connection with the divine and with humanity. The lessons learned in these moments continue to guide my thoughts, actions, and relationships, reminding me that the path of faith is not a destination, but an ongoing journey enriched by the willingness to question, explore, and remain open to discovery. Life has a way of guiding us toward moments that define the course of our existence, moments that appear ordinary at first, yet carry within them the power to transform the deepest aspects of our being. For me, the turning point in my journey toward embracing Christ was not marked by dramatic spectacle, but by a series of subtle awakenings that gradually illuminated the path I had long been searching for. It was a convergence of experiences, reflections, and encounters that led me to recognize the presence of something far greater than myself, something that could provide direction, purpose, and profound inner peace. The turning point was not an instant revelation, but a quiet recognition of the heart, a deep and undeniable sense that life could no longer be fully understood or lived apart from faith. In the days leading to this moment, I had traversed a landscape of doubt, exploration, and searching. I had questioned everything I thought I knew about life, morality, and meaning. I had encountered moments of despair, faced uncertainties that seemed insurmountable, and sought answers in places that ultimately left me unsatisfied. I realized that intellect alone could not provide the clarity I needed. There had to be a dimension beyond logic, a source of wisdom that transcended human understanding. It was in this space of openness and humility that I began to notice signs, experiences, and patterns that pointed me toward Christ. The realization was gradual, but its impact was unmistakable, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the path I was meant to follow. The turning point began with a profound encounter with the simplicity and power of Christ's teachings. I had read about his life before, admired the values he embodied, yet it was only when I reflected on their relevance to my own life that their significance truly struck me. The message of love, forgiveness, humility, and service resonated with the questions I had carried for so long. I saw in Christ not only a figure to be revered, but a guide whose life provided a living blueprint for navigating the complexities of human existence. In recognizing the depth of his teachings, I understood that faith was not about ritual or obligation, but about aligning one's life with principles that elevate the soul and foster connection with others. It was a moment of clarity, a recognition that the path I had been seeking was not external, but internal, rooted in transformation of the heart and mind. Another defining aspect of this turning point was the experience of grace in the midst of personal struggle. Life had presented challenges that tested my resilience, confronted me with pain that seemed unending, and exposed weaknesses I had long ignored. In those moments I felt an inexplicable presence, a sense of guidance and support that went beyond human assistance. I began to recognize that Christ's embrace was not distant or symbolic, but immediate and practical, offering comfort, courage, and the capacity to endure with dignity. The realization that I was not alone, that there was a source of unwavering strength available to me, shifted the way I viewed my struggles. They were no longer meaningless, but opportunities to engage with faith, to grow in perseverance, and to experience transformation. The turning point was also shaped by encounters with individuals who embodied Christ's teachings in tangible ways. I observed lives that reflected integrity, selflessness, and unwavering compassion. Their presence and actions demonstrated the power of faith, not as theory, but as lived experience. Witnessing their courage in adversity, their patience in the face of challenges, and their ability to forgive and love even when it was difficult, inspired me to re-examine my own life. I saw the possibility of transformation not as an abstract concept, but as a practical reality accessible to anyone willing to embrace humility, reflection, and faith. It became evident that Christ's teachings were not merely historical accounts, but living truths capable of guiding daily decisions, interactions, and choices. As I reflected on my life, I realized that the turning point involved a surrender of control, an acknowledgement that the journey of the heart is greater than the ambitions of the mind. I had spent years attempting to shape life according to my understanding, to construct meaning through intellect, ambition, and effort alone. Yet I discovered that true fulfillment emerges when one opens the heart to divine guidance, when one allows faith to shape perspective and action. This surrender was not passive resignation, but an active, conscious choice to embrace a path grounded in love, morality, and purpose. It required courage to let go of certainty, to acknowledge vulnerability, and to trust in a source beyond human comprehension. Yet it yielded an inner liberation and clarity that had previously eluded me. The turning point was also accompanied by a profound sense of connection. I realized that embracing Christ was not only about individual transformation, but about becoming part of a larger story, a community of faith, and a tradition that has guided countless lives toward meaning and service. There was an awareness that life is interconnected, that our choices affect others, and that living with faith allows us to contribute positively to the world around us. This recognition inspired a commitment to act with integrity, compassion, and responsibility. I understood that faith is a living, breathing practice that extends beyond personal salvation into tangible acts of kindness, justice, and service. In embracing Christ, I also encountered a renewed understanding of hope. Life's uncertainties no longer seemed insurmountable, nor did failures feel permanent or defining. Hope became a steady companion, grounded not in wishful thinking, but in the assurance that faith provides clarity, guidance, and resilience. This hope transformed the way I viewed challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. Each obstacle became a chance to practice patience, courage, and humility, while each success became a reminder of the potential that emerges when life is guided by principles rooted in love and purpose. The turning point, therefore, was not a singular event, but a profound reorientation of perspective, a shift in the very lens through which I experienced existence. Finally, the turning point led me to an active commitment to growth, reflection, and living faithfully. Embracing Christ was not the end of the journey, but the beginning of a lifelong pursuit of understanding, character development, and service. It demanded consistency, dedication, and a willingness to confront both internal and external challenges with integrity and courage. The experience taught me that transformation is gradual, that true faith requires persistence, and that the greatest changes often begin quietly within the heart, before manifesting in the actions and choices of daily life. Through this process, I learned that the turning point in any spiritual journey is deeply personal, shaped by reflection, experience, and encounters that resonate with the heart's deepest longings. In my own life, it was a convergence of insight, grace, human example, and surrender that led me to embrace Christ. The moment redefined my understanding of purpose, love, and resilience, transforming doubt into trust, uncertainty into clarity, and seeking into discovery. I realized that faith is not a static state, but an ongoing engagement, a dynamic process that shapes thought, action, and character in profound and enduring ways. Embracing Christ at that turning point became a commitment to live with intention, to act with compassion, and to approach life with humility and courage. It transformed relationships, priorities, and ambitions, guiding me toward a life aligned with values that honor both the divine and the human. The journey has continued since, each day offering opportunities to deepen understanding, extend grace, and embody the principles that initially illuminated the path. The turning point, though past, remains ever present as a reminder of the transformative power of faith, the clarity that emerges from reflection, and the potential that unfolds when one opens the heart fully to a life guided by purpose, integrity, and love. Faith has a way of reshaping not only how we see the world, but how we see ourselves. When I reflect upon the journey that led me to embrace Christianity, I realize that the transformation it brought was not simply a change of belief, but a profound alteration of perspective, values, and daily living. The lessons learned through faith are not abstract principles to be recited. They are lived experiences, quietly but powerfully molding character, deepening understanding, and fostering resilience. It is remarkable how the embrace of faith illuminates life in ways that were previously unseen, turning ordinary moments into opportunities for growth, reflection, and meaningful action. One of the most significant lessons I learned is the power of humility. Prior to this journey, I carried a sense of self-reliance that often veiled the limitations inherent in human existence. Challenges, failures, and disappointments were met with frustration or resistance rather than acceptance or understanding. Faith revealed to me the necessity of acknowledging the vastness of life, the complexity of human experience, and the limits of personal control. Through embracing Christ, I learned that humility is not a surrender of ambition or purpose, but a recognition that life is a collaborative journey between oneself, others, and a higher guiding principle. Humility allowed me to approach relationships, work, and personal goals with greater empathy, patience, and thoughtfulness. It transformed interactions with those around me, fostering deeper connections and reducing the tendency toward judgment or pride. Another powerful lesson was the understanding of unconditional love and forgiveness. Faith taught me that life is filled with imperfections in myself and others, and that the capacity to forgive is not only a moral obligation, but a source of profound liberation. Carrying resentment or holding on to past hurts constrains the spirit and diminishes the ability to experience joy fully. By learning to forgive, I experienced a freedom I had never known, a release from the weight of past mistakes, and a renewed capacity to cultivate positive relationships. This lesson extended beyond personal interactions to a broader understanding of compassion, prompting me to engage with others with patience, understanding, and the recognition that every individual is on their own journey of growth and struggle.
Faith also taught me the importance of perseverance and resilience. Life is rarely straightforward, and challenges do not always resolve according to one's plans or expectations. Through moments of hardship, the principles of Christianity provided a framework for enduring difficulties with grace and determination. I learned that setbacks are not signs of failure, but opportunities to cultivate strength, patience, and reliance on values that withstand the unpredictability of circumstance. This perspective transformed the way I approached both professional and personal challenges, allowing me to respond with thoughtfulness rather than impulsive frustration, to seek solutions grounded in integrity rather than expedience, and to maintain hope in situations that previously would have seemed insurmountable. Faith also instilled in me a profound sense of purpose. Prior to embracing Christianity, the search for meaning often felt scattered or external, dependent on achievements, recognition, or material success. Through the teachings of Christ, I discovered that purpose is rooted in love, service, and the alignment of one's actions with principles that benefit not only oneself, but others as well. Each day became an opportunity to live intentionally, to make choices that reflect moral clarity and empathy, and to engage with the world in a way that contributes to the well-being of others. This lesson reshaped priorities, guiding decisions toward activities that foster growth, uplift others, and nurture both personal and communal development. The recognition of a higher purpose infused even mundane tasks with significance, transforming routine moments into opportunities for reflection, service, and contribution. The transformation through faith also brought clarity to the understanding of hope. Hope, I realized, is not mere optimism or wishful thinking, but a steadfast confidence grounded in trust, in principles greater than oneself. It is the recognition that life's challenges are not arbitrary, that suffering can lead to growth, and that resilience, courage, and faith have the power to shape outcomes in meaningful ways. With this understanding, moments that once induced despair became occasions for reflection, learning, and determination. Hope became a guiding principle, enabling me to approach uncertainty with calm, to navigate difficult decisions with thoughtful consideration, and to maintain equilibrium in the face of life's inevitable adversities. It was a lesson in patience, trust, and the enduring value of aligning action with principle. Faith also revealed the importance of gratitude. In the pursuit of goals, achievements, and personal growth, it is easy to overlook the many blessings present in everyday life. Through reflection and prayer, I learned to recognize the abundance in small moments, the kindness of others, the beauty of creation, the opportunities afforded by circumstance, and the lessons embedded within challenges. Gratitude transformed my outlook, shifting attention from scarcity to sufficiency, from complaint to appreciation, and from expectation to contentment. It nurtured a sense of peace that was not dependent on external circumstances, but on an internal recognition of the richness inherent in life, fostering resilience, empathy, and emotional balance. Another profound lesson was the power of community and fellowship. Christianity illuminated the importance of relationships grounded in shared values, mutual support, and collective pursuit of moral and spiritual growth. Faith demonstrated that life's journey is not solitary, and that growth is often accelerated, enriched, and sustained through engagement with others who embody integrity, compassion, and wisdom. Being part of a community of faith reinforced lessons in humility, service, and love, providing opportunities to practice the principles I had embraced and to contribute positively to the growth and well-being of others. The reciprocal nature of community strengthened understanding, resilience, and the capacity to navigate life's complexities with grace.
Through these lessons, I discovered the transformative potential of prayer and reflection. Engaging consistently in moments of quiet contemplation allowed me to align thoughts and actions with principles rooted in faith. Reflection provided clarity in times of confusion, guided decision making in moments of uncertainty, and reinforced a sense of purpose that transcended immediate concerns or challenges. Prayer became a conduit for expressing gratitude, seeking guidance, and cultivating a mindset oriented toward compassion, integrity, and resilience. The discipline of reflection and prayer nurtured an inner equilibrium, a capacity to remain centered amidst external turbulence, and a deeper awareness of life's interconnectedness. Perhaps the most enduring lesson is that transformation is an ongoing process. Faith does not provide a singular solution, but an evolving framework through which life can be understood and lived with intention, purpose, and grace. Christianity has shaped my character, guided my actions, and instilled principles that inform every aspect of existence. Yet the journey continues, each day offering opportunities to refine understanding, practice compassion, and deepen commitment to living faithfully. This ongoing evolution reinforces the dynamic nature of faith, highlighting that learning, growth, and transformation are continuous, responsive, and deeply personal processes that require dedication, courage, and openness to change. Through faith, life became a tapestry of meaning, woven from the threads of humility, forgiveness, resilience, hope, gratitude, purpose, community, and reflection. Each lesson learned has illuminated the path forward, fostering personal growth, moral clarity, and a deeper engagement with the world. The transformative power of faith is not limited to belief alone, but extends into action, character, and relationships, shaping the very fabric of life in ways that are both subtle and profound. It has provided a foundation for navigating challenges with courage, embracing opportunities with integrity, and approaching the journey of life with a sense of wonder, responsibility, and love. As I reflect on the journey that has brought me to this moment, I realize that the story of faith is not simply mine alone. It is a testament to the transformative power that lies within each of us when we open our hearts to truth, love, and purpose. The path was neither easy nor immediate, yet every moment of doubt, every challenge, and every revelation contributed to a deeper understanding of life, of humanity, and of the divine. Christianity has reshaped my perspective, instilled values that guide my actions, and provided a foundation of hope, resilience, and compassion that touches every part of my existence. The lessons learned, humility, forgiveness, perseverance, gratitude, and the embrace of community, have transformed ordinary days into opportunities for growth, reflection, and meaningful action. They remind me that faith is not a destination, but a continuous journey, one that calls for courage, patience, and openness to change. My hope in sharing this journey is to inspire others to seek their own path with sincerity, to embrace uncertainty as a guide, and to recognize that transformation is possible when we align our hearts with principles that uplift, connect, and illuminate the soul.